Not politely, not awkwardly. Full palms, loud, triumphant applause, like she'd just solved world hunger instead of flattening my cedar fence into a splintered ribbon along the edge of my property. Much better, she announced to nobody who asked. Dust hung in the summer air between our homes like a curtain that hadn't decided which side it belonged to. Her hilltop deck now had a clear, uninterrupted view of the lake. My yard, meanwhile, looked like a war zone. I stood on my porch with a mug of coffee cooling in my hand, watching her survey the destruction with the satisfaction of a queen inspecting conquered territory. She spotted me and smiled, that particular smile. The one that says I broke your stuff and somehow it's your fault. You're welcome, she called out. For what? I asked calmly. For improving neighborhood aesthetics. That fence was an eyesore. It had been a 6-foot cedar privacy fence. Professionally installed, surveyed, permitted, approved 3 years earlier. She stepped over the crushed boards like they were fallen leaves. You should really thank me. I increased your property value. Behind her, the bulldozer operator shifted awkwardly in his seat. Did I give permission for this? I asked. Karen waved a manicured hand. It was on the property line. Technically shared visual space. WA guidelines allow modification for scenic preservation. There was no such guideline. But Karen had never let facts interrupt her confidence. I took a slow sip of coffee. You bulldozed my fence. I enhanced community harmony. The operator killed the engine. Silence settled. Karen folded her arms. If you want to rebuild, I'd suggest something lower. Maybe decorative iron. Something tasteful. I nodded once. Then I went inside. Most people think revenge is loud, explosive, emotional. It isn't. The best kind is patient. The next morning, I ordered a new survey. Not because I doubted my boundary. I knew exactly where it was. But paper beats memory every time. 3 days later, bright orange flags dotted the ground along the former fence line. The surveyor handed me a laminated map and said, "Your boundary actually extends 18 inches past where the old fence stood." I thanked him. Then I called a real estate attorney. Not to sue, to buy. Karen's house sat on a narrow strip of land that angled awkwardly toward the lake. Years ago, when the subdivision was carved out of farmland, the developer had created a tiny, nearly useless parcel between our properties, a wedge of land nobody paid attention to. Except it wasn't useless. It controlled legal frontage access along the slope, and it belonged to a retired couple who had moved to Arizona 15 years earlier. Their contact information took some digging, but money has a way of making people check old mail. 2 weeks later, I owned the strip. Karen didn't notice. Why would she? Her view was perfect now. The new fence arrived in sections. Steel posts, reinforced panels, weather-sealed cedar slats. Stronger than the original, taller too, but I didn't install it immediately. First, I filed paperwork with the county recorder's office to merge the wedge parcel into my lot. Clean, legal, permanent. Then I scheduled a new survey, this time marking my updated boundary. The flags went up on a Friday morning. Karen was hosting a garden brunch on her deck. I could hear laughter drifting across the slope as guests admired the unobstructed lake view. She noticed the surveyors midway through pouring mimosas. "What are those markers for?" she called down. "Property alignment," one of them answered. She frowned but returned to her guests. "Confidence is loud. Consequences are quiet." Monday morning, the installation crew arrived. Karen stepped outside halfway through the first post. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Installing my fence," I replied from a lawn chair. Her eyes tracked the line of steel posts marching steadily uphill. "That's not where the fence was." "No," I agreed. "That's where my property is." She laughed once. Sharp, dismissive. "You can't build there. That's my side yard." I handed her a copy of the updated survey. She skimmed it, then read again. The color drained slowly from her expression. That wedge isn't yours. It is now." She looked from the paper to the crew, who were already setting concrete. "You can't block my deck." "I'm not blocking anything," I said gently. "I'm building on my land." Her voice rose. "This is harassment." The foreman asked me quietly, "Proceed." Yes. Steel met earth. Concrete poured. Panels rose. By afternoon, the new fence stood exactly on the legal boundary, a clean, unbroken line. From Karen's deck, The lake view was now replaced by smooth cedar slats. Her silence was louder than any shouting could have been. She called the WA that evening. They sent a compliance notice the next day. I replied with permits, surveys, and county filings. They sent a second notice claiming visual obstruction. My attorney sent a letter requesting the specific bylaw authorizing destruction of previously approved property improvements. They stopped responding. Karen tried a different strategy. She came to my door. "I think we got off on the wrong foot," she began, smiling with visible effort. I listened. I may have been enthusiastic about improving the neighborhood. But this fence is excessive. It's regulation height. It's hostile. It's secure. Her jaw tightened. What would it take to move it back? Time travel, I said kindly. Her smile vanished. You're being petty. No, I said. I'm being precise. She stared at me like she expected guilt to appear if she waited long enough. It didn't. Summer shifted toward autumn. Leaves turned. Wind off the lake sharpened. Karen stopped hosting brunches. Her deck furniture disappeared one piece at a time. The WA newsletter quietly introduced a new policy: no alteration of existing property structures without written owner consent. Funny how rules appear after consequences. 3 months later, she listed her house. The price dropped twice. Buyers like views. Eventually, a young couple purchased it, friendly, quiet, delighted to learn the fence ensured privacy on both sides. On their first evening, they knocked on my door with homemade bread. "Thank you for keeping the boundary clear," they said. "Happy to be neighbors," I replied. Peace returned. A year passed. Spring rebuilt what bulldozers cannot. Grass grew where debris once lay. Birds nested along the fence posts. The lake remained exactly where it had always been, patient, unmoved by human certainty. One afternoon, a certified letter arrived. Inside was a cashier's check. No note, just an amount matching the original fence cost, plus demolition fees. Karen's forwarding address was printed neatly in the corner. I deposited the check, not because I needed the money. Because closure, like property lines, is best when documented. People sometimes ask if I regret not suing. I don't. Courtrooms settle disputes. Boundaries settle behavior. Karen wanted a better view. I gave her perspective, and perspective, once learned, is difficult to bulldoze.